All right, so today will be a little bit different. I wanted to do a run through of what the DPS, not the DPS calculator, I mean, it is a DPS calculator, but what the loadouts look like for what I use, at least on the salvaging side. So the focus won't really be on the DPS piece of it, although if you want to min-max that, feel free to your heart's content, whatever you want to do with that. Same thing kind of with shields. It's something kind of weird going on with shields right now. I don't, for whatever reason, again, I never claimed to be like a super pro at this game. I'm still relatively new to the game. And so I don't quite know I know there's something about the shields being normalized a bit, but they're looking all the exact same. So at this point, I imagine the military shields, those are the ones that I was sticking with originally. I'm still doing that here in this instance, but maybe they're just power hogs at this point because the only thing I really see changing is the cooldown rates, and yet the shields all give the same amount. They all recharge at the same rate. So there seems to be no real difference on the shield piece. So, anyways, we're not focusing on really the guns and the shields today, but we're going to focus on the salvage heads and then all the other components of the ship. So I'm going to start with the Vulture. Again, we're not going to focus on these at all. These are your two bulldogs that you have. Feel free to change that to whatever you'd like. Oh, first, so here is the our cool .games that you can go, and I'll put this probably in the description so that you can go to this calculator. I'll also put the item finder because we're going to look at that a little bit as well. So unfortunately, I'm locked to these particular heads. So I do want to have that discussion, but we'll have that in between the other two because it's going to be relevant to both of the salvage vehicles, the Reclaimer and the Vulture. So looking at the power plan, I did put the Brenton. So when you go to pick these items, first of all, you're going to go to the ship section here. You're going to click a ship, and then you're going to load whatever particular ship you want to take a look at. So I've already loaded the Vulture. But from there, you want to take a look at, and it's going to be sorting it by the highest power, which is fine. If you want something else to focus on, you can do that. Like if you want to look at some stealth components, I actually did have a build where I would do like stealthy with the Vulture just to maybe lower my signature in case people were coming around at me near near the moon yellow. But I've gotten away from doing that. So I generally kind of pick the highest industrial, and so that's going to see it's going to have the most amount of power available to your components. So you can get the Brenton. Now, the next question a lot of people will have is where do you get that at? Well, the good thing about this calculator too is you can see here, once you've selected the component, and you can see it's blue here, down here, you're going to see the actual component, the pieces of the component. And then down at the very bottom down here, you're going to see where it's located at. So you're going to find a lot of this stuff. I'm going to usually go to area 18. Now, if you start in your new Babbage, then go to new Babbage. But I'm typically around Crusader and area 18ish, so that kind of other side of the verse. So I'm going to take on the area 18 as my kind of go-to. Next, we're looking at the coolers. This is another. So these first two components, I wouldn't necessarily prioritize these, but I find them useful. So you see here, the cooling rate is the highest. Again, industrial, the ultra flow. So I went ahead and I'm going to be using that as well. And now this one's at Cruel L4. It's at New Babbage as well. So I mean, you can go to New Babbage, so you can probably get a lot of this done. So if you want to do that, feel free. But I usually am going to Cruel L4. Again, feel free to go to New Babbage. And then finally, we'll take a look at the jump drive. Now, this unfortunately is only one location. And if you look at so what we're looking at here is the efficiency. Now, you can go for max speed. The problem is when you go to something like max speed, you're going to be getting there quicker, yes, but it's going to cost you. But when it costs you, it's going to cost you a lot of fuel. And then it'll cost you a lot of money too on the end side. So it's sorted, I think, by efficiency. If you don't have it sorted by efficiency by default, go ahead and put that in there. You could do it by max distance if you'd like as well, but you're going to take forever to get there. So you can see here, this distance is better, but it's because it gets there super slow. So all in all, you have to kind of decide what the balance you want. I like to use the efficiency because I want to be able to get there for the best bang of the buck. And that means a relatively fast speed at a decent distance where I can go somewhere and then still refill if I need be. So something like the Vulture, you're typically not going to take on something like the, what's the big mission? Brain dumping right now, but you're not going to take on the disaster mission, right? So if you do something like that mission, it's going to be out in the middle of nowhere in the verse, and so it's going to be hard for you to get out there and then do the salvaging and then get back. So in the wake of the disaster is just a really big mission where there's a lot of ships to be salvaged, and it's really more based around the Reclaimer. It's open for everybody on the server, so it can be taken on by anybody, but it's not really a big Vulture mission. There's storage stuff you can pick up. The Reclaimer is just much better for it. So that would be the only thing that I would maybe want a higher max distance. But all in all, I just go with the Atlas here, and you can see that again. It's at Hurl L5. Now we'll go ahead and we'll do the discussion on the heads here. So what I like to do with my Vulture, and again, I can't adjust these; they're locked for some reason. If someone has any clue on how to unlock these, I've tried many things. I've had no luck. Please let me know. But yeah, so at the end of the day, um, I like to go with the Abrade. These Abrade is the best, and we'll take a look at that with the actual numbers on that. And then I actually don't like to have the ready tractor beam. If you want to have the beam, then feel free to put it on the other one. I would get rid of the cinches, and I would go with the Abrade on both of these two. And if you want to keep the tractor beam, maybe keep it with the trawler or do another Abrade. So you could do 3 Abrades, or you could do a trawler and the beam. What I like to do is I like to go with the Abrades, 2 sets of Abrades and 2 sets of trawlers. Now most people will just say just get the Abrades, and that's what you're going to be using most of the time anyways. But the trawler has a bigger. So let's take a look at these. Um, so this is the trawler. This is the one that comes by default on the Reclaimer, and you can wear it on the Vulture. You don't have to like go steal it from you can buy it from these particular parts here. So again, if you want to look at these, you can just click on one in the blue, and it'll tell you where to buy them. It's pretty much at most places, like any major planet. It's at a lot of places. So if you want to see where to buy these, you can check here. You don't have to go to the item finder, but I want to show you this because it shows you the components modifiers, aka their like stats. So looking at the trawler and the Abrade, these are the two I really recommend. And most people, again, are going to say that the Abrade's the best. Let's go over first why the cinch is terrible. Looking at the cinch here, it's going to have the most efficiency. And what's that mean? What that means is that when it's going in to grab the material and do the recycling, you're going to get like a 1-to-1 ratio on how you're picking up that material. So it's going to be the most efficient. However, you'll see here that the radius is 1.5 meters and the speed is 0.6. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's compare it to the alternatives. So the middle child here is the Abrade. And you can see here it's 3.5, whereas again, before it was 1.5. So you got 2 extra meters, and then the speed is 0.15 versus 0.6. So that's half. So it doesn't seem that bad, but honestly, you're going to be like, it's going to take you forever to actually complete the salvaging if you do this. It's just a time value thing. And you can do that if you want. Again, feel free to use whatever components you want, but it's just going to be, it's the worst as far as these two areas here, the radius, the size you're going to be able to salvage, and the speed you salvage at is just terrible, even though with the 100% efficiency. Alternatively, the efficiency is only 10% less here, and it's twice as fast and 2 meters bigger. I didn't do the calculation on it. I did another calculation, but I guess I could do it live. Do I have my calculator? I do. Well, I have my phone calculator. So yeah, there is going to be a pretty large difference there. 0.5 versus what was it, 1.5? Math doing it live. 130%. So it's 130% extra area being covered by this. So that's over 100% more, which it is, because if you're looking at 1.5, this is 3. So if you were to double this, it would be 3. So that's why you get the 130% extra area being covered, and it's at 90% versus, so the 100%. This is just better in like every way. It's faster. Its efficiency sure is a little bit less, but it's going to be covering over 100% of the area, so over twice as much. It's what, 2.3. It was 130% or something, what I said earlier. So it's just better in most ways. And again, you can see whether you purchase all of these heads are basically these scraper modules are just about everywhere. Now let's look at the trawler. These two are a little more comparable. I would again still say the Abrade's better. So you see this speed multiplier is 0.05 instead of 0.15. So it's 10% slower. Again, I'm not doing the actual percent change on that to see what the difference is, but it's a little bit slower. The efficiency is not as good, right? So you went from 0.9 to 0.6. Again, 0.9 here, 0.6 here. So you're losing quite a bit of efficiency. It went from almost near perfect efficiency to almost half efficiency, but the radius is huge, right? So it's covering again almost twice as much. This would obviously be 7 meters for twice as much, so it's not quite 100%. So it's not twice as much, but it's close to that. It's probably, again, actually I did do the math. It was 72% or something like that. That was the calculation I did earlier. So it's about 70% bigger. So that's not bad. So that's why I like to have this. And so you asked me, what would I use this for? All right, lost my train of thought a little bit. I got interrupted by real world work. Things happen. So okay, so what I was talking about, I think before, is the cases what I would use as a trawler, and that would be when I originally was started playing. It was like 319, maybe 319, because I think 320 is when they came up with the fracking salvage possibility. I would take the vulture and I would try to go scrape the and get 250,000 out of the hammerhead mission. Um, it's funny, people will probably see this in 323 and go, "What do you mean 500,000?" Because it's been nerfed heavily. But yeah, I used to try to scrape the, or I would to kind of mix up the gameplay. I showed you in the guide to frac ships, right? But comparatively, trying to scrape the hammerhead was pretty good money compared to scraping the other two, which is the Connie and the Cuddy. So, anyways, I would use the trawler heads for that because it was actually a bit quicker because you're covering so much size. Now, again, the efficiency is down, but it didn't. The efficiency part didn't bug me because when it comes to scraping a hammerhead with the vulture, you're going to have more boxes you can do with anyways. So the efficiency means is as you're scraping and pulling it in, it's kind of like when you're fracking, you have that percentage. That's kind of what you're looking at here. It's a negative percentage essentially. So when you're pulling in that material, if you want that 100%, do the cinch. It'll take you all day, but at least you'll get 100% of the material out of it. But most things that you're going to be salvaging, it'll be quicker for you to take another mission on and start scraping something else in the times it takes you to get 100% efficiency that you're going to get with the cinch. So that's why it's just not efficiency in your time and in playing to actually do that. I mean, it can be, feel free to do it. But all in all, the trawler is good about covering more area at a fairly decent speed with, I mean, the efficiency is not really there. But if the goal is to just get something done with a certain time frame, then go with the trawler. Now, again, people are going to say, well, there's only maybe there's very few missions where you are based off time like that. Then you don't need them. But if you're going to continue to have missions where you have a certain amount of time, so for example, even in current patch, if you want to do one of the risky missions, you have 30 minutes to do it. Obviously, then the ones that are not considered risky, the Connie Cuddy and those cleanup missions, you have an hour to do it. But the risky ones, you only have 30 minutes, and so you want to make the best use of those 30 minutes. Going back to the vulture, we then look at these heads, and I think a braid. Yeah, I would want two of these because the interesting part with the vulture versus the reclaimer is you have the ability to use both of these heads at the same time under one pilot, whereas that's not going to be the case with the reclaimer. So pick two good. Again, the braid. I think I would have two of those for sure, and then the other one's up to you if you want to do like a trawler and the tractor beam, or you can do the abrade and the tractor beam, much like the one that's already pre-set up. So if you want to just buy two heads, you can just buy the abrades, or you can just buy one for now and then replace the tractor beam. And then later on, if you want to bring the tractor beam back, then feel free to do that. Additionally, I put the two abrades on the first set just because they're just there right away when I want to use them. Um, this tractor beam, it's something I used to use a little bit, but honestly, you get a crime stat a lot of these times. It's just kind of a bug with the game. So I just found it not useful to use. So I typically don't use it. I mean, you can like do things like get out of the ship, get in the driving seat of the salvage ship. I've gotten stuck in a seat like that before, so that's not ideal. And so you can do that, and then you technically like own the ship. So then you can do the tractor beam after that without the crime stat, but it's just too much of a headache. I just prefer not to use the tractor beam, but it's on you. If you want to use the tractor beam, you can kind of rotate it, much like you rotate the boxes. You can do that, and the head will stay, the salvaging head will stay in that one area, and you can just use the rotation of the ship to just scrape it down. Additionally, I used to use the gimbals, but I got away from doing that when they made a change in like 321, maybe 322. It got real wonky, and I don't like to use the gimbals anymore. I used to gimbal it down, but now I just move my ship instead. So feel free to use the gimbals though if you want. But all in all, again, I use two abrades and then I actually use two trawlers. But feel free to use some kind of variant of that. But again, I would highly recommend to have two abrades available for your vulture. That pretty much wraps up the vulture. So for those that just wanted to see the vulture part, thanks for checking it out. We're gonna move on to the reclaimer. Maybe you'll see what you can use in the future state after you've leveled up your reclaimer quite a bit. So here we have the reclaimer. Same thing. There's a number of turrets here, right? And interestingly enough, these are all turrets, so you can't actually. I mean, you man them, and a couple of them are remote, but so this is the main turret you care about the most. So if you want to, well, actually, I don't think you can even change it. Okay, it looks like you can. I wouldn't change it. I mean, they're perfectly fine for their intended need. So again, not focusing on the weapons or the shields, but these are the weapons and shields I like to use. I leave the default weapons here. The shields I actually switched to the FR86s. But the ones that come on it have similar stats. So again, all of these seem to be normalized to a certain set. So if you want to leave them the way they are, that's fine too. There are 3 of them, so it can be expensive to have to buy this many, but you can get them at Orison. So I do get these at Orison, and I just stick them on there. They're the military grade A's. Power plant you can't change this. I guess there is something else here, but there's no reason to, because the power. It's just there's no reason to do it. So just leave it the way it is. Chill maxes. Now this is a component I do pick up. Actually, I might use something else from Orison, but yeah, I would just advise just to do the chill maxes here. You can get them in Area 18 or again at New Babbage. And then the big thing is going to be the drive. So I usually use the Echoes or Urbos, the Echo or the Urbos. You can find this at Area 18. For the Echo, the Erebos is at Arc L1. They're pretty close to each other. As far as you can see, the max speed's the same. Pretty much most of the things appear to be the same. So I guess it doesn't really matter which one you actually go with. These are the 2 I typically go with, either one of these 2. You can go to Area 18. I've used either one, and they both seem fine. It's interesting. This is Civilian D, but it's got really good stats. So I don't know why that is. Okay, so one has more HP than the other. It's weird that the grade D has better stats. Thanks, CIG. Anyways, long story short, pick one of these 2 and just go to the area to get it. I think I have the Echo in there right now just because I went to Area 18 to get it. Thrusters, yeah, all this stuff stays the same, so no major changes there. Now back to the salvaging pieces. Oddly enough, they were here. Where did they go? They're also locked on here too. Where'd they go? Oops. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show me the salvage heads. I saw them locked earlier, and I'm not seeing them right now. Okay, well, anyways, we'll talk about them. It's a similar situation where it's just driving me nuts because I can't find them. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to talk about them. So originally, you're going to get a trawler and you're going to get the tractor beam. And this is another situation where at first I used to just keep the trawler on there, but honestly, I switched it to dual braids and I did dual trawlers. Similar set. I use the exact same set as for Vulture and the Reclaimer. Now, if you want to keep a tractor beam, feel free to keep tractor beam. Honestly, you can just put the braids on both sides and then maybe or you could do a trawler on one and a braid on the other and then do 2 tractor beams, or you could do 1 tractor beam. I've played with a little bit of both. I think I used to keep a tractor beam on the right because sometimes I would occasionally hit the hammerheads I was getting ready to drive up to and salvage or fly over to. And so, yeah, I found it advantageous to go ahead and have that available. But again, the conversation we've already had about these 2. And again, I would never use a cinch on Reclaimer. I don't think the efficiency changes and all the numbers. Now they do show up in game. I'm not going to grab that footage. I think I've showed that in my guide before. So you may find different stats on there, but I don't think so. It doesn't really matter. Again, I think the abrade is the best way to go. The efficiency's there, the speed's there, and then the radius is pretty good. It's close enough to the trawler, but again, I keep the other set as trawlers just to have it in case I maybe get down to the bottom of time. I actually don't like scraping as much on my Reclaimer as I do my Vulture, mostly because you can pilot it at the same time. So I find it a little more tedious with the Reclaimer. I don't. Sometimes I'll do it just to kill time, and it's fun to power wash vehicles or scrape it down to the. It just reminds me of that power wash simulator. A lot of people were playing there for a while. But yeah, all in all, I run again 2 abrades and 2 trawlers. Feel free to keep a tractor beam on there if you want to. So maybe you do 2 abrades and a trawler and a tractor beam. However you want to mix and match that. If you're in a Reclaimer, you probably have a fair amount of money to play with the different things. When you're in a Vulture, it's a little bit more cut and dry, unfortunately, where you have a set amount of money, and so you have a set budget on what you want to spend. I guess I didn't talk about this before. I would focus on the jump drive, like many people usually say, because getting there isn't the most efficient thing. It's hard to say with the Vulture. I almost would want to prior the salvage pieces, but I would just prior getting another abrade on the Vulture first. I would want 2 abrades, 100%, and then probably focus on the jump drive. Oddly enough, if not, if you do them backward, that's fine. If you get the jump drive first, that's fine, and then get the abrade right after that. You want to get the 2 abrade heads. It just saves you time, and it's going to be more efficiency with your time and more income. That's pretty much it. The other components, the shield generators, again, the shields seem to be kind of normalized right now, so feel free to get whatever you want there or leave the standard ones on there. You can use the max shields to get more out of your shields as well. It will lower the drain on other parts. Like if you're using your thrust and stuff, it won't recharge as quickly. But if you're worried about getting shot at least it gives you extra shielding when you have all max power to shields. And then you can then you can focus on, again, if when you're buying your components, I would focus on the salvaging pieces first, the salvaging scrape modules. I would focus on getting the abrades, making sure you're squared away there. Then I would get a jump drive, and then I would focus on the other modules. You can do cooling and then the power management, however you want to do that. But you kind of fill those up as time goes on. That's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. I wanted to focus on this for this review. I think I want to maybe try doing ship reviews, but I need to change it up a little bit. It seems like people don't watch the valuation piece. I still want to talk about the valuation piece. I want to cut that down quite a bit. And then I think I'll do, um, I'll walk through the ship first. I want to do the loadout piece where we can look at a loadout a little bit. I'm not going to focus too much on weapons, but I'm thinking loadout would be a good idea. And then taking a look at the valuation a little bit as well. So let me know what your thoughts are. If you guys want another video, let me know what your ideas on the video are. But I definitely wanted to get this out here. Additionally, I've been playing other games. I played a little bit of Fallout 76. So I'll be curious to see if anyone's interested in any other content and other games that I should potentially keep an eye out for or give a try. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing. See you guys next time.